we go, let's get those wheels out on the road. It may get dusty, but that's the way she goes. We'll build some greasy old cars and drink our AGT. Hey, don't you know, it's partly built.
Well, welcome back, guys. This time, of course, we're getting back to work on the Galaxie. As of right now, I have 27 days till we're doing test and tune. Actually, just roughly 26 days and a couple hours till we're supposed to be at test and tune. And as you can see, especially if you've been watching the videos, there's a lot left to do. So I've been here for about 2 hours so far tonight. I'll get you caught up on what I've got done and what I'm planning to get done tonight and tomorrow. So check it out. So first of all, I got the fittings I needed to finish the fuel line under the car, but I'm not so sure about this fitting that they provided with the filter. I think that's a 5/16 and it should be a 3/8. So I have ordered a 3/8 quick connect fitting there. The supply and return to the filter are ran and hooked up. The power for the fuel pump and the ground for the fuel pump are all hooked up. So the fuel pump is all done at the back, except for, like I said, that one fitting that I want to change. And then I got a couple things done up top here. I'll show you that next. So when you come around to the top, it doesn't look like I got that much done here either, but I pulled the upper section of the steering shaft off so we can get a spherical bearing to use as a steady bearing. And then I'll get a bracket put on once I get that spherical bearing, and then we can make sure that the linkage is all going to work, like the shaft is all going to work nice and smoothly. If not, I'm going to have to come up with a new plan for that, but that's that for now. I also mounted the line lock and run lines for the line lock. It's not the prettiest job, but it will work. I got the fuel line mounted up on the firewall with a couple P-clamps. I'm waiting on one fitting for right here. I got the fuel line to the throttle body made as well. So once that fuel line shows up, either tomorrow or Wednesday, I will get the fuel line all done up. And once that fitting comes at the back, I can pressure test the fuel system and make sure that's all good. So my next step tonight is I need to probably start running some wiring. I got to bring that whole harness out of the cab. I also need to run wiring from the cab to the line lock and install the switches in the cab. I have to dig into the factory harness inside the cab for clean 12-volt ignition power instead of the resisted 12-volt ignition power to feed the distributor and the alternator. I have to mount a switch panel somewhere in the cab and figure out how I'm going to wire that all in. And then I may pull some lines off the power steering here so I can take them to town and get those taken care of tomorrow. But the main things right now are just get some wiring done. So I'm going to get after that. Well, I think I'm going to call it a night, but I'll show you what I got done. It really didn't amass too much, but I kind of got stuff figured out a little bit here. I got the ACES harness ran out, the O2 sensor installed, all the connections hooked up on the engine, and then I grounded the line lock solenoid with the block ground over here. And then I ran a wire in to the cab that I'm going to wire into my switch panel for the line lock. Then I ran a group of 3 wires in and hooked it to my fan, power, ground, because my PDM, I can connect power and ground. Normally I would just ground it out here. I'll try it this way if I have trouble. It's easy enough to get these wires here to the battery. I also wired the 3rd wire that into the TAC signal of my distributor, which will provide the RPM signal to the ECU, and that all 3 of those wires are wired into the PDM. I ran extra heavy power and ground into the cab because they want like super clean power to the ECM. They want it on its own power wires. It's like separate from everything else. But with the PDM, apparently it's not as important. I don't know. So this will run in from the battery once I get the fender and the battery back on. And it'll power the PDM and my switch panel in the cab. So I also have extra outputs on my PDM for ignition. So I'll probably use those to run relays for the line lock and stuff, so it can only come on with ignition, as well as the USB plugs and the voltage output readout on that little switch pack, because I actually got the same switch pack for this car that we put in the Beetle, because it's like 20 bucks. It's 6 switches, they're all fused, they're all lit. It has dual USB plugs. It has a normal cigarette lighter plug like PowerPoint, and it has a little voltage readout in the middle. So it'll work just fine. I'll probably mount it where the cup hole, or where the cubby hole was in the old console for now. But anyway, I tied up the extra wiring for the Aces stuff. Good enough for now anyway. So hopefully at work tomorrow I can get that mount at the back of the transmission for the shifter repaired. I got to get some electrical connections after work for this cabling. So I took a little chunk of it, and I'll make sure I get the right connectors. I also have my main block ground to the battery and my starter wire that I need to put new ends on. So I got those with me. And then once I get this all wired up, well, I got enough extra, I'll probably take the other end of this and I'll run it to the alternator. So I have good heavy cabling from the alternator to the battery for charging. And that'll pretty much take care of the whole charging and starting system. So I'm making headway. It's frustrating because I'm stressing out because there's so much to do, but really the list is getting shorter faster than I thought it would. So I'm going to just clean up some tools and I'll call it a night. So as long as it's not raining, we'll catch you tomorrow. Well guys, welcome back. It's now Wednesday. I didn't film anything yesterday, and as you can see, we're back in the shop and there's no body, so I'll fill you in on what's going on. So as you can see, the engine, the suspension, that's all back out, and the frame looks different. Well, here's the deal. So yesterday I started hanging one of the fenders so I could figure out some battery wiring. And I set it on and I went, that doesn't look right. And if I can find a picture, I'll insert it here. But basically, my front axle was too far ahead. And I thought, well, okay, well, we can cut the fender wells out and we can move them ahead in the fender and like whatever. Unless you know, you'd never know. So then I went to put the bolt the fender to the rad support, and the rad support is 2 inches too far forward. So I started doing some measuring and I started looking. Turns out, somehow, we made everything from the front of the cab forward 2 inches too long, and also 2.5 inches too low. So yesterday, I pulled the body back off, I pulled the engine suspension out, and I cut the frame, and I cut 2 inches out of the frame, and then I lifted it 2.5 inches from where it was. And then I corner measured it, and I leveled it all out, and I tacked it. And I measured my rad support mounts and my body mounts. And I went down to the body, and I had someone help me hang a fender on it partially, and I measured the height differences for my mounts. And now it should all fit. Like I've measured it, I've double measured it, triple measured it, like this is where it should be. So now I get to put all the front suspension back together. And here's the best part. Now our transmission mount has to go back another 2 inches. Now the hole in our cab has to get bigger. Now I have to have a custom drive shaft built because my drive shaft will be too long. Now we got to shorten an exhaust pipe. but really the exhaust pipe is the easiest part to do. So tonight, my only plan is to get this welded and plated, and then tomorrow I'll pull the engine off of the suspension, and then I will have to notch. I'll have to notch out the frame here and install flat plates for the suspension to bolt to. But this time I'm going to pre-build the plates, have them on it, put it in place, tack the plates in, then drop the suspension back out and weld that all in. I think it'll be a much better job, a much cleaner job than last time. So yeah, just when we thought we'd had enough framework, it's time for more. And here's the kicker. I have 25 days left until testing tune. I was stressing before. I'm really stressing now. So my plan is to have everything ready on the frame to either Friday night or Saturday morning, get the body back on the frame, and be back to where we were, well, Tuesday. So I'm going to get after this. I'm probably not going to film too much. I'll just grab the camera when I'm done because I need to get some stuff done. Okay, so I managed to get most of the top done, but I ran out of welding gas again. So it's really ugly welds, but it's all plated in. The inside of that one, all but the last little bit on the inside of this one is done. So that just leaves the outside right here, this up to about here to plate in. And then I got to cut this all down, an angle back here, so I can do the suspension mount, because the suspension mount is going to sit about here now. So I guess that's it for me tonight. I'll get my welding gas filled tomorrow, and then hopefully I can either get this done or close to done tomorrow. Welcome back. It's Thursday now. I got more welding gas, courtesy of my brother-in-law, thank you. I pulled the engine and transmission already out of the front suspension. I finished those last couple welds I had left on the top. So the whole top side's done. It's not pretty, but it doesn't matter. Sorry about the lighting tonight. There's a storm outside, so there's not a lot of natural lighting, but I'm to the point now where I've got the suspension rolled in. I mean, it's 3-4 inches too low yet, but I can see now kind of where I need to make my cut through here and then down here type of deal, and then just keep that angle. So I'm tempted to take my grinder and make a couple marks and then just take the Sawzall maybe and try that, and then I can clean it up with the grinder after. Then we can box this all back in. I'll probably make the plates and weld the nuts to them ahead of time, and then I can bolt that all back in. So, but honestly, looking at this, I could probably weld these plates right to the car, because you'd always press the bushings out after if you had to. But first we're going to start by cutting this side and the other side, and then we'll see how it wants to fit. Okay guys, I think I'm done for the night. I'll show you what we got here. The engine's back in the suspension's back on the frame. The frame is all boxed in. I know it's hard to see in this really poor lighting, but it's 9 o'clock at night already and there's no lights on in here, so that's what you get. So, as you can see, the cross member, I still have to get the mounts built for it, and I will have to shorten my drive shaft. It looks like I can cut 1.5 inches out of my slip, and then that might actually make the difference I need. I gotta do some research to make sure that I do have enough movement so I don't jam that drive shaft and have issues. But I think we'll be okay, especially if I put my air shocks in the back, which should be here tomorrow. So I'm gonna call that a night, guys. That was, what was it, Tuesday night at like 6:30. I figured out that we screwed up. I won't even say we, that I screwed up. So it's 9 o'clock Thursday night, and I only worked for 1.5 hours yesterday till I ran out of gas. So in reality, I've got 6-ish hours into cutting, straightening, reattaching, doing the rear suspension mounts, and I did weld them. I didn't bolt them. They're welded. The suspension will die with this car now. I don't care. It'll be fine. So, yeah. Plan tomorrow night is cross member, drive shaft, and possibly cut and reattach that exhaust somewhat. Even if I have to get just a band clamp for now, I don't care. But, oh, the other thing is I think I figured out my sway bar mounts. So I'm gonna dink with those at work tomorrow. But if I can get the sway bar mounts, the cross member, the exhaust, and the drive shaft figured out tomorrow, then it's ready Saturday for Josh and I to put it back onto the body and pick up where we left off. He can keep going on exhaust. There's a little bit of frame welding underneath. I'm not a good welder to begin with, and overhead welding I'm really not good at. So there's some pretty ugly welds underneath, so I gave up because I only had it tilted up like maybe 45 degrees. Everything I could do with a jackal, and then I had it braced up on chunks of metal just so I could get under it and weld what I could. But I did. Every plate that I added, I wrapped it around and overlapped it instead of butt welding it. And I put a lot of wire into that frame now. So yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. I'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Well, welcome back. It's Saturday now. I didn't actually come out last night. I decided I needed a day off. So went home, cooked a nice supper. Girlfriend and I had a nice night. And now it's Saturday morning, so we're getting back to work on this. I'm gonna start by shortening the slip yoke on the drive shaft by 1.5 inches, 1 3/4. Plenty of engagement there. That's shortening it as much as I can just before it bottoms out against the back of the output shaft. So we should be good there. I also have the air ride shocks for the back. I need to take care of the transmission cross member and also do something about the sway bar. And then we should be ready to roll it back down the hill and get the body back on. So I'm gonna get after it. Well, I hacked off 1 3/4 inches, and actually the cut was fairly straight. And the drive shaft fits beautiful. And we're between 1.25 and 1.5 inches of slip. So the drive shaft's good, the slip is good. So now I think Josh is gonna get working on the cross member. I'm gonna get the rear shock swapped out, and then I will start on the sway bar mounts. All right, we'll catch you up quick here again. Josh has one side of the transmission mount done, and he's just getting ready to do the other side, and then he'll probably wait to do the exhaust until we're back up under the car. The air shocks are in. The line is ran roughly where it needs to be. Of course, I already showed you the drive shaft fits nice. So I'm just working on sway bar mounts right now, using parts of the old ones, some plate, and parts of the Crown Vic pieces. All right, we're back down at the hoist, setting the body on again. Josh is just adjusting the hole in the cab. Everything up front is much closer now. Looks a little better. Even my throttle cable should fit now, which is nice. Okay, so I'll give you an update. We ended up, we're gonna have to space the body up just a little bit on these mounts at the front, just to clear the transmission a little better. Like, we got in here after we lifted it and bent the tunnel a little more, and now it clears the transmission really nice. And then we did test fit a fender, and it actually fits properly now, which is very exciting. Josh got this tailpipe welded back together. We're just starting on the next one, and if everything goes good, we're planning to at least try to start it today.
Everything's gonna go good.
Josh is determined that it's all gonna go really well, so
I'm gonna start today.
Apparently he claims we're gonna get it started today. This is looking better now. One thing about this open air shop is nature might have its way with us. Okay, so we've got it kind of hot wired out front, wired up in here in the cab, batteries hooked up, and as you can see the battery light's on. So I have plugged in the handheld, and if I can find where the keys are, we'll see if the handheld powers up here and we can figure some stuff out. Ooh, those wipers are... Okay, your power's on. Hey, kill shot. Kill shot maybe offline. That's not good. This doesn't seem to be lighting up in the ECM. What's going on? We do have ignition lights coming on. I just got to double check some wiring because my ECM is not powering on, so we will see what we find out here. Okay, so we're gonna, now that I've figured out my wiring issue, my kill shot actually powers up. So we'll see. Kill shot. Yes, to the wizard. Kill shot. Imperial. AFRs. Oh, I gotta hook up the O2 sensor yet. We're going stock cam. Single wideband. I gotta look in my computer, but I'm pretty sure it's coil negative that I want for an HEI. For an HEI, tack in coil negative. Oh, 4 injectors, 100-pound injectors. It is a 390. I want it to idle at, for now, while we're tuning, we'll go 750, but I'll probably lower it to about 650. Actually, you know what? Lord hates a coward. 650. Yes, I'm happy with those settings. Yes, save them. Key off for 5 seconds. Okay, now tuning, fuel pump, fuel, advanced. There's a spot to change my fuel pressure and I can't remember exactly where it is. Basic. Fuel pressure 58 psi. Well, that's the injector rated pressure. I don't know, I might have to change that later. Go back and watch some videos and make sure I understand everything correctly. Sure. Alright, so I think we are ready to test for fuel leaks. I got to tighten one line up at the engine. Josh has got to put a little fuel in it. And then we'll have to bypass the neutral safety, but I think we're ready to try starting it. I'm excited. What about you?
Yeah, I want to hear this thing.
Yeah. All right, let's mess with some fuel stuff. Fuel system primed. Although I don't hear the pump cycle, but I don't know. We got power. I don't know. Let's try it, see what happens. Go ahead, Josh. It's seeing revolutions. Okay, hang on. Go ahead. Oh, baby. The timing's a little off, and for some reason it's not running the fuel pump. So I got a little bit of wiring to check out. But the idle sounds nasty. Well, it works. I mean, there's a lot of stuff burning off the headers, but I'm happy with that. Alright guys, welcome back. It's late Sunday afternoon. I've been out here for about 45 minutes. Josh and I last night kind of refigured out the clutch pedal mounting. So now, the clutch pedal actually sits where it should. It's mounted directly to the firewall. So this morning, I got the master cylinder mounted to it, and I narrowed up the brake pedal. I also got the new rad hoses on, but I am one hose clamp short because I wasn't happy with one of the stock ones. And I got hockey pucks, and I drilled my hockey pucks. So I have my rad support sitting on them. I'm gonna have to lift the body, put the hockey pucks and a couple shims in, and bolt the body down at the front here and at the very back where I'm missing a couple bushings. So I'll put some hockey pucks back there, and then that's good to go. Just to make sure this morning, let's see. Oh, we also kind of figured out the cutouts. They're kind of hokey. I might redo some wiring, but oh, hang on. I should probably, you know, plug stuff back in. Now I'll have power to the cab. Yep. Whoop. Here we go. So, still running pretty good, considering it hasn't tuned at all. Starts pretty nice. Sounds excellent. So I'm gonna tinker away on some clutch pedal for some clutch plumbing and try and mount and wire up the neutral safety for the clutch and the reverse lights to the reverse light sensor, since it's all right here. I'll get after it. Alright, I apologize for the wind, but I think I'm done for the day. I figured out the power steering. I've got the line measured, ready to go. The return side's done. It's just the pressure. I got to crimp tomorrow at work. I got to get one fitting for the clutch line, and then I just got the pressure sensor blocking it for now. But I just got to get a T, and I can plumb in the clutch line here and the switch. Then I can fill the clutch and bleed it. I did bleed the front brakes. I had one loose fitting. I tightened that up. It bled up okay. I started test fitting the fender here and running the electrical. It's going to work out nice. I got the pucks put in for the body bushings and the spacers, so it lifted it perfectly. Everything clears nice by the look of it. And the fender sits on there much better. Front end is still a little high for my liking. I might end up having to run like a different coilover, but it's good enough for now. When I pump up the rear shocks to about 60 pounds, it does lift the back end about an inch, so that helps. There's just one leak. They shorted me an O-ring in the kit, so I just got to get a little O-ring for a fitting, and then I can air up the rear shocks and we can get a better look. I have to take the other two Mustang rims and just get the beads resealed and new valve stems put in, and then I'll probably have to do it on these ones too, but for now they'll be fine. I have a ton of wiring left to do in here, and we got to patch the floor, but I don't know if I'm going to run the console or not. We'll have to see. But in the meantime, I'll probably mount my switch panel around here, whether I do it with or without the console. The shifter's a nice reach. Pedals feel good. The heights are pretty much perfect. We do have to pull the seats back out, and someone who had these before put rubber spacers under the front of this one between the seat track and the base of the seat, and then they put like wooden blocks front and back on that seat, so when you sit there your head hits the roof, and when you try to climb in, your legs are really close to the steering wheel on this side. So we'll have to pull the seats out and do that, but we'll do that next time we put it on the hoist again. And when we put it on the hoist again, we'll get all the rear bushings replaced and get the body fully bolted down. And when the seats are out, we'll pull the carpet back and we'll build the tunnel up here. But I'm really happy with this for the day. I'm gonna call it early for the day and for the video. It's only like 2 o'clock. I'm going home. I got other things to do this afternoon and this evening. So I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Follow me on Instagram. It's @BarkleyBuilt. Bye.